Well, there is growing frustration at the inability of the UK to do anything to stop boats carrying illegal migrants to British beaches. Almost 19,000 have arrived already this year, but today it's emerged just how far the Home Secretary is prepared to go in order to stop that traffic. Priti Patel wants to give immunity from criminal prosecution to border force officers out in the Channel who, for instance, use jet skis to intercept and turn migrant boats back. As things stand, it's illegal to ignore international maritime rules, which require that someone in distress at sea is rescued. Not doing so can result in up to 2 years in prison. It might also be possible to bring a claim under civil law. For example, if a migrant died during a border force operation to turn them back in the Channel, then their relatives, at least in theory, could sue. Well, we've now learned that the long-awaited Nationality and Borders Bill, which is going through Parliament, includes clauses that will allow border force officials to avoid criminal or civil prosecution should a migrant perish through their actions or lack of them in the Channel. They will still need to demonstrate that they acted in good faith and that there were reasonable grounds for their decisions. It seems like dense legal stuff, this, but it's terribly important in terms of what happens in the future in the Channel, say, many. Well, our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, joins us now, who's reflected on this for a long time. And Mark, it would have to be in place, provisions like this, wouldn't it? You wouldn't be able to persuade border force officials to take to their jet skis or whatever form of transport they choose to seek to turn around some of these migrant vessels if they feared prosecution potentially for, say, let's say, manslaughter if somebody died as a consequence.
No, and it's part and parcel of that Nationality and Borders Bill that's going through, really, to ensure that those carrying out the instructions of the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, do not themselves fall foul of the law. You mentioned, of course, the international maritime law there that places an obligation on those at sea to come to the aid of people in distress. Well, as you said, as long as the border force officers can demonstrate that they acted reasonably, then they will be, it seems, immune from prosecution under UK law as part of their reference to that international maritime law. And that is very important in giving them that confidence in going forward. But we have to say, I mean, in terms of this policy, it is only going to apply in a very small number of cases, because really the criteria for which border force would ever use this is effectively a boat that is seaworthy enough and contains few enough people, and no women and children, for instance, that they could shepherd back over the halfway point between England and France, back over that line, and prevent them from getting into UK territorial waters without them potentially getting into difficulties. But we don't know, of course, what the reaction of any migrants on board a boat with these jet skis trying to shepherd them, corral them back over that line into the English waters is going to be. And indeed, we don't yet know what France has said. They have said certainly that they oppose this. You can see the jet skis out there at the moment. This was some footage that one of our stringers caught for us a few weeks ago of the practice that the jet skis, there's 4 of them that will be in operation out there in the Channel. But when a boat is absolutely full to the gunnels of people and is pretty low in the water and looks fairly unseaworthy, they're not going to intervene because they don't want to risk there being a tragedy at sea. No one is going to take on that responsibility. So it will only be in a handful of cases that this tactic is ever used. But I think from the point of view of the Home Secretary, the Prime Minister, in seeing more than 18,500 people come over on these small boats this year, that is more than double for the whole of last year, they want to be seen to be doing something. They want to be seen to be acting, to take some kind of action that shows that they are determined to try to do what they can to stop these people coming across, launching off in the first place in very difficult conditions, often in the Channel. Whether it's going to be successful, I'm not sure there are many people that think it will be all that successful at the end of the day.
Mark, so much of it seems to hinge on not the parliamentary progress, because that's assured, but the effectiveness when it's implemented of this Borders and Nationality Bill. I just wonder to what extent you feel, when you talk to officials at the Home Office, that they are investing everything in this, because there must be a whiff of political panic at the Home Office. You know, they'll switch on the TV set most days. There's new numbers, there's new footage of migrants coming ashore. Only yesterday we were showing footage of some of those migrants you told us from your sources. Many of them were from Iraq, and they weren't just hanging around on the beaches anymore. They were going inland and trying to disappear into the hinterland of the country, in many cases very successfully. They're putting everything, it seems to many people, on this Borders and Immigration Bill, Borders and Nationality Bill, and there doesn't seem much else going on if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I think they share certainly the same concern and alarm at seeing these vessels that are not at all seaworthy trying to make that crossing. It may only be 21 miles at its narrowest point, but there are strong currents, it's a busy shipping lane, and often there are waves, bow waves from some of these big vessels. There have been lives lost, but there is a real concern that it may only be a matter of time before there is significant loss of life. So they share that concern. They've obviously been working with France, but relations with France at the moment are pretty strained. I was reporting the last couple of days from Jersey. That's just one of the issues post-Brexit that's got the French very exercised indeed, and they are not at all happy about a pushback policy. They believe that it would be both illegal and dangerous. So that is going to be another point of friction with the French. I think one potential avenue that they are exploring in earnest is to look further back along the chain of migration, at the routes out of Africa and the Middle East, where people are embarking on this long and hazardous journey, to see whether programs can be instigated there that can divert those who have a legitimate claim for asylum into the UK asylum system, and to try to deter those who don't have a legitimate claim for coming in the first place, because they won't stand much of a chance of getting asylum even if they reach the UK.
Maybe combining with Denmark to use a country like the Central African Republic, I think, or was it Rwanda, as a processing area for applicants. Mark, for now, thanks very much indeed. Mark White there.